light. It's why we are all here, right? But it's also why we are here in nature, on this planet. Light is life, growth, change, ideas. But what if the very symbol of the idea bred a new idea? What if we took notes from light itself to be more pure, more real, more true, to benefit from a full spectrum of colors, and say good morning to a cleaner, fresher perspective? What would happen if manufactured light wasn't so manufactured? Maybe life itself wouldn't feel so manufactured. Life could be light.
So how's everyone doing? Thanks for jumping in today to take a look at the best alternative to natural light. My name is Sally Lee. I work for LEDVANCE. We are the makers of SYLVANIA branded lighting products in North America, formerly known as Osram Sylvania. And I work in business development and basically special projects. I have a passion for lighting and applications and making sure that people's project requirements actually get assimilated into anything that we're working on. And I'm really excited that we get the opportunity to meet up today to talk about this sort of very new generation, not next generation, breakthrough in LED lighting, and specifically how it impacts facilities and really what the value will be for you. I'm hoping you'll see. But the intro video, I think my favorite part of that was the wondering out loud of, wouldn't it be nice if lighting didn't seem so manufactured? That this literally is a subject that affects everyone. It's important to understand how lighting, perhaps less obviously what you can't see, affects our well-being, and we will examine that today. Lighting recommendations have always focused on visibility and wayfinding. Today, you'll see that the current best practices have been opening up and recognizing what's now known about these non-visual impacts of lighting. Excuse me. There have been so many developments, even in 2020, and just such incredible voice around this topic. What we call evidence-based design. These are strategies that show results where people are more alert, more productive, what we call circadian supportive, and overall well-being and health are positively affected. You already know that the conversation around how facilities can support wellness is growing, partly because you have expectations increasing for better building environments that are driven by consumer experiences that are happening outside of work, which is a lot now, but mostly because the jury is in on this topic, that in working and in living spaces, wellness advantages have been demonstrated to improve concentration and to lead to these better outcomes, including safety in the workplace and individual health. So when it comes to converging in on these topics, let's take a look for a second at kind of the 20,000 foot level, if you will. And here is a snapshot of lighting as an asset. LED has certainly been helping us realize ambitious energy savings. Facility lighting projects they're really low-hanging fruit for high return on investment from both the ongoing energy savings as well as the maintenance savings. But facilities have to manage lighting as an asset. And when these changes are made, particularly when you're looking at longer life products, you have to live with that investment and you don't want to be left stranded. So more recently, this trend of examining tenant benefits, which is, making a financial connection with wellness, also matters in this mix. And we will look at that in just a moment. So we've got facility wellness outcomes, and it says wellness and productivity largely depend on sleep. The priority of access to natural light and views. These are things that people are asking for. So making a financial connection with wellness also matters in the mix. And we'll look at this in just a moment. people are certainly participating and letting us know that their priorities are for access to natural light and views, that wellness and productivity largely depend on sleep and light. And most recently, we have been elevating both at the consumer marketplace as well as in the professional building space this idea that our circadian rhythm, which is really our 24-hour biological clock, it's dominated by exposure to light and dark, and it's responsible for our ability to fall asleep later in the day. You will attend a lot of sessions in this conference that are probably speaking about wellness in buildings, not only because of this pandemic, but because people are spending so much time indoors. Over 80% of our time is spent. And when we're doing this, we're using electric illumination. So this is an important topic that researchers have been studying in order to understand the effect of light on human health, and we'll unpack that a lot more through this session together. So research has paid close attention to both the visual and the non-visual or physiological impacts of light. And this has revealed that it's our prior light exposure, kind of like if you drink caffeine or I won't say alcohol, but I just did. But you know that these things stay with us. We metabolize things. So this idea that we're exposed to a quantity of light, a spectrum of light, and that we carry this with us from the daytime through into the evening. It's the timing and the intensity and the duration. There's a little bit of a system to it, but this mechanism affects our subsequent response. So this is really key to our talk today, that understanding this concept of latency, it really helps answer the question of how the lighting that you're going to provide for me in the facility that I'm using during the day is going to actually have an impact on me when I am no longer even in your building. I've been gone for hours. So when it's time for lights out, if I look back over my day, what was I exposed to? So this is a really interesting inflection point, because you're not really in control of that for what happens to people when they leave the building, but it's largely known now in this body of research that light is responsible for how well we sleep, as well as how well we feel during the day, or you can think of it as the next day. And to be technical about it, it's reducing short wavelength, or what we see as the blue light of the spectrum, that's characterized in many of the modern light sources like LED. In fact, LED introduces more of it than any other technology. So that's what we're going after today with the differentiation for you. Incandescent lighting never had it. We've always used that at home. Fluorescence had some, but LED really kind of hits the sweet spot of exactly what we want to avoid if we're trying to support wellness with lighting. So you'll see lots of evidence of that today. And sustainable building design is widely recognized for positively impacting health, well-being, and productivity. Their voluntary international well building standard, which was just released as version 2 last month, does prescribe some very specific best practices, as well as how we can measure and verify. So you can kind of hang your hat on, this idea that you can't see it. How do you know that you have it? So the circadian supportive lighting is solely focused on the health and well-being of the building occupants. So today, I have a couple of business examples, and I think it's important that you recognize these are very recent. And we are spending time talking about, instead of just how lighting can impact facilities, really more about how facility lighting can impact positively people. In fact, leadership in facilities management and the building design and construction industry have recently had more than a lot to say about this. And I just selected 2 things that are actually great references for you to use. If you're not already familiar with, here is a rule of thumb that's been developed by JLL, and it's a perfect example of how businesses may evaluate returns on investment. So the World Green Building Council took a kind of a broad look at a lot of the research that had been done. They're like, what can we pick from this? Like what connects, what lands in terms of implementing? And when it comes to employee health and well-being and productivity. So they came up with this idea that you have a fixed expenditure per square foot per year for utilities. So when we do a lighting efficiency project, we're saving energy. So we are definitely affecting this portion of the pie. I can't affect what you pay for rent, but they say if it's $3 for utilities, it's $30 for rent. And then they have this other category, which we can all relate to, especially if we run businesses or manage people. It's $300 would be the payroll expense. So if I make a 10% increase in energy efficiency, I'm affecting about 30 cents a square foot a year. But if I make a 10% gain in productivity, I am really hitting the ball out of the park. It's a much bigger return on the investment. So taking into effect that this World Green Building Council had looked around and said, these are statistically repeatable results where individual temperature control can improve people's productivity by 3%. That's a huge improvement. And ventilation, 11%. Access to a natural environment, that would be an 18% improvement in productivity. But what really hit the ball out of the park the farthest is the better lighting at 23%. And there's another reference through the Electra Industry magazine, which is run by NEMA, that's the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. And personally, when I've attended conferences, I have seen the JLL information presented a couple of times. So this is the real deal. It's interesting, and it's a tool that belongs squarely inside of your kind of lighting as an asset column. So I hope you find that helpful. Another thing that's recently in the press is from Harvard Business Review, and the news headlines about what perks or elements of office lighting make for a great employee experience really do seem to be dominated by fads like treadmills or nap pods or go play ping pong. And bring your dog to work today, type things. But in a recent employee experience poll in North America, there are over 1,600 employees surveyed, and they prioritize access to natural light and views. I don't want to minimize views. I can't help you with that with electric lighting. But these views of the outdoors was the number one attribute of the workplace environment. And then it outranked everything, including cafeterias or fitness centers or premium perks like having on-site childcare. So from this, what I loved about this article in particular, this research, was this question is, are we spending money in a way that is making the biggest difference for the employees, where it really matters for most of the employees? And that is a very important question to be asking. So we're spending over almost 6 hours a day at our desks. Honestly, working from home, I think it's more. But the idea that we could improve our productivity by having an improvement in the lighting is just, something that just shows up again and again and again. So the paper talks about 2 case studies where investments were made in this area. And today, employers recognize that the workplace environment, there are case studies you can read about in there, where the overall environment really impacts the employee experience. And then they get into things like employee retention. So they feel that the workplace is super important and it can be dollarized. So let's imagine that we can merge all of these business trends and these questions with research that's recent about lighting, new technology as a solution, and then the best practice, like what do you really do in your environment? So we have a new technology that we've launched this year in 2020. Too bad during the pandemic, but maybe okay. But it's a lighting innovation, and to support that, we have a 10-page white paper, and it goes through all of these technical attributes of the light. And the last page, which you can see pictured on the bottom right there, has about 24 different references. So here's a little close-up. I boxed around the 2 that I've already referenced today, but many of these are about classroom applications. 5 are about office lighting and productivity. There are 2 on new color metrics. There's 1 that's a link to the WELL building standard. We'll get to that shortly. But we really did pull from a large number of research projects that were comparing the effects on health and well-being and alertness. And as a result of people working under different lighting conditions that have been carried out since some breakthroughs in vision science, which are also referenced, I think, 4 times here, and that this recent application research, we're just better able to understand and communicate the benefits of lighting and wellness at work together. All right, so I want to just show you something that I'm hoping that you've seen spectral power distribution curves, even if it was all the way back in school in science class. But on the bottom left, what we have is a few different things plotted together. So, we're obviously proponents of natural light. All this time indoors, all this electric illumination, all this stuff about not feeling well, and this whole link, which we'll bring right back to the brain in a moment. But what is wrong with electric lighting in general is that it doesn't mimic natural light. And LED is a really interesting arena. I mean, you see it all over the place now. The color quality seems really good. But what has happened is that to technically achieve creating white light, you start literally with a blue LED, and then you use other components to spread the spectrum out to get this beautiful white light. And it takes a lot of energy to spread. So if I want to go from blue all the way up to red, the technology has some limitations, and it ends up leaving this sort of unintended consequence of this like pump of blue. So that's like physically how the sausage is made. And then what you're looking at for the dashed line is what the reference or the natural light would be. So regular LED is pictured with the blue kind of purple line. And I'll talk about that zone in just a moment. The red line, which still has a little bit of excess, but it really closely mimics natural light. And this is like, of all the different colors of light, this would be like kind of the worst case scenario. And I pulled that out on purpose. But you'll also see on the right side of the spectrum that there's like more available, more saturation, more intensity, more richness in reds. And that's what we rely on to have our complexions look natural, or if there is any kind of a visual display. Usually it's the reds that are the trickiest to light with interior light sources. So we don't want to make anything look unnatural, but this is a broad, beautiful spectrum. So again, the problem with most white LEDs is this highly intense blue light, and this all links into our visual systems and goes straight to how well we sleep, and that's really the secret sauce here. So instead of just monkeying around with how we convert the blue, we actually started at the chip level. So this is a brand new LED chip design, and the idea of using these multiple quantum wells to spread the light out or flatten the curve, if you will. I guess that's a timely comment. We get the best spectral match to natural light. And I'll make a side comment too, because glare and visual comfort are a really big deal, whatever environment you're in. So you'll have the ability to, when you're reading something, sometimes there's some scatter on the page, that kind of glare that you experience. So think about the daytime sky, and why is the sky blue? The sky is blue because the short wavelength blue light is what scatters the most. So again, we're not taking anything away that's natural, we're just getting rid of what's unnatural or unnecessary. So that is just a lift or a level up, if you will, for visual comfort and experiencing whatever environment you're in. So I'm going to take a quick sideline here, because this is really something that I think we all take for granted. That I think we all know that there is consensus that exposure to light and dark, anyone who's ever had jet lag knows that your exposure to light and dark on this nearly 24-hour cycle, what we call the sleep-wake cycle, light has a great impact on that. But what's most recently been observed, and it really has been for maybe 18 years ago that was really first confirmed. So instead of just light coming in through your eye, which is pictured up on the top right, there's like a pink eyeball, it would make it through your brain and onto your visual cortex. And then if we have vision, if we have the gift of sight, we would have conscious vision, we'd see color and brightness. So along the same lines of that your eye actually transmits data to your brain. So it uses your eye, but it uses light, but it's really a non-visual signal. And it goes straight into the center of our brain, where non-image forming sensitivities to things like melatonin suppression, circadian entrainment. So this is our sleep-wake cycle, like the epicenter of it, if you will. So we are, turns out, spectrally, this little receptor that they've discovered and then have been researching tremendously for 15 years, it is spectrally very sensitive to exactly this blue light. And that's the connection that I'm trying to make to wellness for you. So it is now understood that light, specifically the short wavelength, has this physiological impact on us. And consumers are aware, hopefully you are too as a consumer, that in your computer you can turn on a night shift mode. Microsoft tells me to turn on night shift because blue light keeps me up at night. iPhone has the same idea. I can go buy eyeglasses at the optometrist and they will offer me a blue filter, if you will. So when we get into lighting, the idea of filtering means that you're putting energy into something that you're not getting the benefit out of. So that would drop efficiency. And as facilities people, you know that you buy LED lighting or new lighting systems based on improved efficiency. So it's important that we can, keep that balance, and you'll see that we have that. So I kind of popped out for today just to say, all right, what do we all agree that we understand the benefits of sleep and how directly linked it is to our performance and things? So this is a gentleman, Dr. Michael Bruce, and he is like the real deal. I've actually seen him speak. He has nothing to do with our product, but he does talk about our eyes and our brains and our sleep cycles. So let's take a look at what he has for us so that we can keep this kind of front and center when we're talking about what circadian supportive lighting is really delivering on for us. So if you're not familiar with him, he has been educating people about sleep. He is a sleep expert. He's a clinical psychologist. So he's an MD. He's both a diplomat of the American Board of Sleep Medicine, and he's also a fellow of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. So I'm not like a celebrity smitten person, but he is Dr. Oz's personal sleep doctor. So you may have seen him interviewed, but I saw him speak at a conference, and the first thing he said was, everything you do better with a good night's sleep. And if you take a look at why does sleep matter, it does directly impact your immune system. To be healthy, sleep is a must. Learning and memory. They've shown safety at work. He had a slide about if you hadn't slept enough, it would be the equivalent of a blood alcohol level of like a 0.5 or 0.05, sorry. But when you don't get enough, you don't think clearly, you are susceptible to falls and mistakes. And they have gone so much to say that your body emits different hormones, but if you have excessive sleep deprivation, it really can cause weight gain. And then if you are part of the population who has actual sleep disorders like sleep apnea, snoring, this does have a negative impact on your cardiovascular health. So I think that the medical community definitely agrees about all of this. And then I'll just kind of add that this is exactly, concisely what lighting research about the impact of light on our wellness, our well-being is really all about. And all of this evidence-based design that's been happening out in the communities where people have shared results, it comes from all of this measurement and verification. And then all of that helps enable adoption. So that's pretty good. So Dr. Bruce puts it so well that our concentration and our memory and our mood or moodiness, having a shorter fuse, but ultimately our relationships are based on interactions, and sleep has a huge effect. And he also says something that I'm not here to just echo what he's saying, but if you mess with your sleep-wake system, if you want to sleep in on the weekends or something, it kind of messes up your whole balance. You already know that, just as if you've had jet lag or worked a shift job or know a shift worker. So right now I want to introduce you to, you may be familiar with Jennifer Cohen, but she's also featured in print, televisions, and she does work with our company, but she's recognized as the 16th most impactful fitness entrepreneur by WebMD. She is one of the 100 most influential people in health and fitness by the online community called Greatest. She hosts a podcast called Habits and Hustle, and that brings together a bunch of people who know what they're talking about to level up physical and mental capabilities. And we love her because she focuses on building healthy habits to drive some positive behavioral changes. And I want to play part of her sleep hacks video about how to be as efficient and effective as possible. And listen, because she knows that this unnecessary blue light from regular LED has been eliminated in the TruWave technology, and this helps improve her circadian rhythm and get a better night's sleep.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Cohen, high performance coach and wellness educator. Today, I've partnered with the makers of SYLVANIA General Lighting to share with you my top hacks on getting a great night's sleep. In today's times, we're really all so concerned with the state of the world, and being in quarantine life is not fun and very stressful. And guess what happens? When you're stressed, your sleep usually suffers. And sleep is so important for the efficiency of your life, creativity, productivity, weight maintenance, everything. And that's why I want to share with you my top hacks on getting that great night's sleep. Hack number 1, switch to better lighting. Who would have thought that your lighting can be one of the biggest productivity and sleep hacks out there? But it is, because during the day, between the computers, your phone, the TV, you are absorbing so much blue light. And the light bulbs on top of that, it makes it for a really difficult time to fall asleep and have a great night's sleep. And that's why I love using SYLVANIA natural LED lights. These light bulbs have TruWave Technology, which helps reduce blue lights to help you get a better night's sleep and improve your circadian rhythm. So in my bedroom, I use their soft lights because it also creates a cozy, nice atmosphere. And then during the day, I use their daylight bulbs, which kind of helps me be more productive because of the white light bulbs. Their TruWave technology is also great for mimicking outdoors and sunlight, which we all know is great for your overall health. I am going to link this below because I promise you this will be a game changer for you as it was for me.
So I just wanted to make one point too. I mean, she's clearly working from home, and I know that we're talking about facilities. So don't get bogged down with the fact that of the form factor of the light. Just understand you can have this in down lights and pendant lights and cove light. You know, it's really for every socket, if you will. But right now under COVID, this is really these are the people that are experimenting with the products and being able to give us the feedback. It's been difficult to get large scale. We just launched this in basically June, so it's very, very new. We've had a lot of success with it. But she did make a comment that in her home environment, she likes the warm light in her room and she likes a cooler light where she works. So that would be very consistent with how we treat hospitality spaces being a little bit warmer, and maybe a law office or something you might choose to have a warmer tone of light. But it's not about the color of the light, because at any color that you choose, you saw that spectrum, we flatten that curve of that blue, and that's really what you want to avoid. So I just wanted to make that point. Okay, so I have 6 slides here just to really capture for you what TruWave technology is really all about. And you've been through it and back with me already in this meeting that this less intense short blue wavelength has both lower glare and reduced eye strain. And that's an immediate lift. You can literally see it, kind of side by side. This improves readability, visual tasks, and it supports this improved sleep-wake cycle. So I think that we're all on the same page. You get that point. Something else that we decided to do. So I have to let you know that the idea of TruWave is that, TruWave is that we really wanted to have it be controls friendly. You will want to use this lighting, personalize it in your space. It's a trend to have personalized dimming. We want simple configuration, no crazy controls. If you don't dim it, fine. If you want to dim it, the idea is that everything is built into it. Now that's not the color spectrum part, but just at the package level. So every now and then over the past 50 years, really, the topic of lighting and flicker does come up regardless of the technology. It could be metal halide, it could be fluorescent, it could be halogen. At best, perceptible flicker is a nuisance, and folks who are sensitive to flicker usually detect it in their peripheral vision. But anyway, it's not a problem unless it's a problem. So the idea that we could, in a good, better, best, kind of package that in there with the best control and dimmability, that's not a stretch to understand. So in the meantime, out in industry, there are a lot of very smart people working on some standards to prescribe flicker maximums and thresholds and things that would also be measurable in the field. So right now we are using the best control gear because we don't want to compromise anything on that visual experience. But in terms of the color performance, because this is natural light, this is a big one. And I have two examples. So we were looking for realistic, vivid colors, and we do not want to sacrifice light output. That is why people invest in LED. And we really want to have natural light. I've seen lighting specifications that have come through. They specify some color attributes to the products. And if someone is maybe a little more particular, they use the current standards and they ask for a little bit of extra reporting because they're going after how much red is present in the spectrum of your light. So we have a new industry standard for 5 years now. And those of you who are familiar with energy utility rebates and like Design Lights Consortium, DLC, qualified products, the utility companies will kind of put a stamp of approval on for utility incentives. Starting July of 2020, every manufacturer who submits their products for DLC qualification has to give the traditional color information as well as the new TM30 report. So I'm going to give you a glimpse of that. If you haven't seen it before, don't freak out. It's just colors. But it does, it'll be a tool for you to help figure out if you're getting everything that you like. So the market growth in LED, sorry, my mouse is jammed up here, I apologize. The market growth in LED is basically because of efficiency, and that is what pays for the change. So a lot of these LED products that we are selling and others are selling have pretty good color quality. But as I mentioned, getting anything richer in color rendition has typically knocked, it's not that popular, but it's for commercial products because the color has been good. And when we have strived to make a better color product, so far until TruWave, it's really knocked back the efficacy because you have to basically put a thicker coating on that LED, which just means that it's filtering or not transmitting. So we're trying to keep the lumens per watt high and the cost down considerably, and ultimately that what has been a limiting factor. So with TruWave, we talked about the chip design and how it accomplishes these better, like more natural colors and does so very efficiently. But I do have two examples for you on this today. The second example is a comparison I'll show you in a second. And it's for what we call T8 lamps. And these are the tubes that you'll find in your 2x4 fixtures, strip lights, maybe some signage or display cases. And I get to use that comparison to introduce you to the new color metrics from TM30. I think you're going to love it. It's really straightforward. But the first comparison I'm going to start with today is actually for the A lamps, the same products that Jennifer Cohen was experiencing. Because in this category of product, color properties receive considerable attention. And in this sense, you would consider these equivalent for color, but I want to do like apples to apples. There we go. It's all on the screen now. So here's what I'm showing you. This is like three, TruWave is one of them, and then two other products that you can buy that are beautiful on the market. Nothing wrong with these products whatsoever. Very popular, front runners. So here's what we're looking at. They're very attractive options. You consider this an apples to apples when you're looking at light and color quality at first. The lighting facts labels that are on the products would identify these as high color rendering or high CRI options. And CRI is just an average of how colors are reflected on a scale of 0 to 100. So the colors I kind of put over here on the right. So we would shine the light, they would shine back, they get their individual scores, you average it, ta-da. If you're above 90, you're in the money, you're considered a high CRI product. These are all high CRI products, no dings. So 2 things here. The lighting table on the right has the attributes of TruWave and then these 2 other popular high CRI lamps. And the first thing to notice is the wattage at the top, the lumens, and the efficacy, or the lumens per watt. So I wanted to just quickly point out that, here we are delivering a very high color, natural color experience at the highest lumens per watt at 100 for the A line. It varies. When we talk about the TLEDs, those go up to 160 lumens per watt. So you have to do your apples to apples comparisons. So on the left side, and I apologize, I can only get 2 of these to plot together in Excel, but you'll see the full spectrum across the bottom. And the dashed line, again, is the reference curve for natural light, and that is our target. You will see no intense blue peak. You see a smooth, broad spectrum without any filtering, which again kills the lumens per watt. And you'll see how the spectrum reaches longer into the region of red for more vivid natural color, even than a high CRI product. So we included this close-up example just to drive home the point that this less intense blue, and it's the best match to natural light. So if you're a color-centric person and you have a high color rendering expectation, all things equal, we should be in a favorable position because of the efficacy, the cost, and most importantly, this kind of what you can't see, the lack of blue. All right. So let's go into the fluorescent side. Now in fluorescent, we don't have a lot of people asking for high 90 CRI type products. That's typically considered niche. So I don't want to lose you on that. I think you now understand that the value proposition is natural light, high quality of light, affordable light, high efficacy light, and then of course this kind of trump card of like less intense blue, the do no harm. So here I get to show you in the color temperature of 3500 Kelvin, which is pretty popular for office applications. I could have picked any one of them. But this chart that you're seeing on the left, instead of the last slide where there were 8 colors, with TM30, they actually have 99 colors and textures that they're measuring for. So just a quick glance comparing 3 products, the TruWave at the top, 154 lumens per watt at 3500 Kelvin, a normal LED of a middle, like the regular CRI variety from multiple brands, 154 lumens per watt, and then fluorescent, which a lot of facilities still have fluorescent, and that's why you're considering or even discussing LED, that fluorescent's about 95 lumens per watt. So you're still getting the energy savings that's helping to drive the project in the first place. But you can see just out of the box that you're gonna, at a quick glance, that you'll have much better color rendition across the board. So I included the fluorescent, again, for the baseline, but what's interesting to me is that even though we have this like less intense blue, when I look over here at these 3 charts kind of stacked on top of one another, I still have the best reflected light, the best rendition of blues from TruWave. So there's just no takeaway on that. Okay, so last but not least, and this is going to take a couple slides just so that you can really have something tangible to, if you need measurement and verification, if you've not been exposed to this newer well building standard that we mentioned earlier, excuse me, these TruWave products, because of the natural spectrum, they do meet circadian lighting project goals. So if you've sat down and just added this to the list of have to haves or nice to haves, you kind of tip into this category. And I'll go into the well requirements for you. But let me just tee this up that if you've ever hired somebody, or when you put lighting in, you get a certain amount of light and you measure illuminance. So whether you're doing it yourself or whether a consultant's doing it, or maybe your salesperson who's helping you is just validating that you're getting enough light for your application and that you could actually measure it once they've put it in. So that's a pretty known thing. So it's really no different than that, but because we're now talking about light that's entering your eye and making it through and its spectral content, they build on that in, what's happening in the space, but there is a different equation, a different output. It's no longer illuminance or foot candles. It's called equivalent lux. And in this case, this EML, they call it equivalent melanopic lux. So don't get hung up on it. It can be calculated very simply. You just need to know the quantity of light. So instead of measuring it on the desktop, you measure it at your eye, and then you have spectral information in the calculator. The consultants do it, we do it, it's all kosher. But that's equivalent melanopic lux, and that's what WELL came up with first. And internationally, the same results are coming up everywhere around the world. So other systems have come forward, and circadian stimulus is another one. And they're just, that's the CS. And so they're just measuring in the field something so that, like I said, you can't really see it. So how do you really know you're getting it? So it's important to know that the other one is circadian action factor, or CAF. I've seen that in some literature as well. So these are really no more complicated than scoring is in football. But regardless, just know it can be measured and verified. And if you were interested in taking your lighting to this next level, so that you could promote it within your organization and to your tenants or people experiencing your spaces, that it improves the communication and your confidence and the implementation. And that's what the organizations really want to see. So again, I'm back to this white paper. I haven't gone into the specific studies, but I wanted to let you know that you can find a link to the WELL building standard. It's also referenced here, and we really love what they have done in industry to promote this. And I think what I want to tell you about WELL, without being an expert, I've taken a lot of the training and classes, but they started in 2014, and across 62 countries they already have, and that's 62 countries, they already have almost 4,300 registered projects. So if you're familiar with these voluntary standards, WELL has made this available online. You can look up everything that you want. They of course want you to certify your building, but you can certainly take it as a best practice standard that's been put through the paces. So it's really the first rating system for buildings. I mean, we've had Energy Star buildings, LEED buildings. There's a lot of ratings that you can achieve with your facilities, but understand that LEED looks at what the energy in the environment, what a building does to the environment, and WELL looks at what a building does to the people who inhabit it. So clean water, acoustics, thermal comfort, but light is a big category, as you can see. So they have these 10 concept areas, and they really are aiming at getting you to look at things. So I've got one slide on just what the lighting category shows you. And if you were to certify, you would have 2 prerequisites and then several categories to try to accumulate points. And what you'll find front and center is this circadian lighting design. And they want you to understand that when you provide WELL lighting, it's an environment that reduces circadian phase disruption. It improves sleep quality and positively impacts mood and productivity. So I'm very excited, being very active in the Illuminating Engineering Society. When WELL came out last month, the IES also announced a collaboration in lighting. So that just launched, and it's doing nothing but picking up steam, if you will. So I invite any questions that I could answer on that or for your consideration. So I have 1.5 technical slides. It'll take me 20 seconds, but I already talked about these different measurement scales, and this is just a picture of it. So if you want to close your eyes and take a breath, that's fine. But there is this idea that you have to have the right amount of light in the space. I can't control that. I can help you control that. But the products out of the box, regardless of which one of the scales, there's one that has kind of a funky check mark that looks blue, and that one's called the circadian stimulus. WELL recognizes that, but those little dots along the plot are there to show you that at any color temperature out of the box, these products are circadian supported. They meet the requirements. And then this is only in the slide deck for people who want to look at it later instead of in a graph. It's in the table. So it shows you how much different natural light is from TruWave Natural and from regular LED products that are on the market. So we think you'll find that comparable. So just to break it up, I'm going to do a quick video to recap these benefits, and I'll be back with you in a second.
Our SYLVANIA Natural series is an industry-first LED portfolio of lamps, tubes, downlights, and luminaires. It offers the best alternative to natural light thanks to TruWave Technology. These are great for many applications like classrooms, retail locations, healthcare, and residential and office buildings. Benefits include supporting an improved sleep-wake cycle, superior dimming, less intense blue light for reduced eye strain, and helping to see realistic, vivid colors. Differentiate yourself with SYLVANIA natural LED products that deliver clean, natural light. For more info, visit the website below. Have a great day.
So that's Rich, and he's on our team at headquarters. But I do hope you agree that TruWave lighting is a level up and that you can see it as a new generation and not a next generation. It will make a difference where it matters to the people in your facilities. I've got some application examples for the next 5 minutes just to share with you to kind of language. But really, we see this as greatly extending the return on your LED lighting investment for really no more. So good to know, but really see better, feel better. It's a big deal. So the first one of the facility spotlights I chose was office lighting. Now, obviously, we're a little bit, things are happening in this arena, right? But I'm going to start today with workplace lighting because literally you can have these products at home or at the office. And again, we spend so much time indoors, like as much as 87% of our normal routines are conducted indoors. So with a lack of natural light during the daytime hours and then a lot of electric light after dark, really, really important to emphasize this. Being productive, having a productive atmosphere at work, whether that's at home or in the office, really does support circadian rhythm and it does improve concentration. The user satisfaction of just knowing that your employee has paid attention to the opportunity to elevate your individual health. There's really no better time than now, and employees are seen as appreciated and valued. There's also the element of the building where it needs to be welcoming to guests, and so many interior finishes are natural materials these days, plants and wood tones and just beautiful textures that people are including. So it really is just positioning that as just the best possible choice. It should at least be in the lineup for you to look at. Second one is classrooms. And really, I've worked in lighting for over 25 years, and schools seem to consistently seek out ways that they can improve the learning environment. They want to have a better learning outcome. And it used to be in fluorescent systems, they would differentiate and ask for things that they would call full spectrum lighting, which doesn't really have a definition, but there was some research around it. And this idea that it was just a more natural environment. So without really intending to, this just hits the, like dartboard center, right in the middle. So just supporting visibility, and then more recently, the non-visual properties of natural light that are credited in the classroom. There are 5 papers referenced in our documentation that talk about faster cognitive processing, mood, overall well-being, and really just being alert and working inside of the classroom and having lighting that supports communication and social spaces and, all of the complexions of people being rendered and teachers with all of the things that are going on in that environment. But really, there's a lot of dimming control being applied in classrooms, and just the idea that these products just automatically dim best in class is super important too. So I'm going to move into hospitality and assisted living facilities. I don't know if these are directly the facilities that you would manage, but I know that you use them. And this is a very timely strategy to advance both energy and health initiatives. Residents in long-term care facilities really do spend extended periods of time indoors. Many of them have a lack of exposure to natural light, like we do at home, but they really are kind of just stuck there. And then on top of that, you've got shift workers caring for them overnight. And if you've ever worked a shift, it can take you 3 days to recoup, get back on your own cycle. So there's the quantity of light, but really it's largely the spectrum of the light. So we can not be disruptive to our biological clocks in environments like these, where we have the absence of like that normal light-dark rhythm, and where that's strongest for us. So it's kind of more of an extreme population application, if you will. But again, down the hallway, as you see illustrated, those lights are on 24/7. They leak into the room. They might as well have light that do no harm. So the benefits are really big there. And, again, senior population, probably more eye strain, more sensitive to glare. And then just anything you can do to help people with their mood and their rest is amazing at any color temperature. So I'll shift to hotel rooms. I mean, I constantly traveled until about 7 months ago, but we need environments where we can relax and work and socialize and often adjust to new time zones. So travel is pretty stressful, especially today, but you can smoothly extend day into night with the natural spectrum and really beautifully present your property in a way that has that certain something, as well as just when you promise me that I'm going to have a great night's sleep, I know that the lighting is even part of that messaging. So the last two quick spotlights really go to maybe more of the frontline worker mentality right now. But grocery environment is a really good example of retail. Grocery has typically invested in high color quality lighting systems, maybe around the perimeter for fresh food. Certainly experienced a lift with refrigerated display lighting, with LED for energy savings. The packaging materials on the frozen goods really pop with LED, really does a nice job with packaging. But in this case, we could scale it across the whole sales floor. And then when people are stocking shelves, they're getting the benefit at the employee level of everything that we've talked about. But even as a consumer, as I walk through, it's just cleaner, more visual clarity, and just really supportive of interpersonal, kind of take a chore and turn it into a better experience. Anything you can do to help with that is really, really good. But certainly we're used to talking about differentiated color products in retail spaces because it's all about the presentation, but this definitely will package the standout presentations along with these other trends. And then the last place you'd probably find yourself asking for high color rendering or high TM30 performing products on the color side is a warehouse, although it does have better contrast, so you could see things better for picking errors. But in general, this is totally about the extended hours combined with the generally low quality that add to these challenges. I mean, warehouses and distribution centers are seen as cost centers. They're not really seen as front of house type operations. So just anything to improve the quality of the light and support people's wellness is great. And we're just going to wrap up with a quick 30-second video from Maddie Tews. She is a model and a social influencer, and she has hosted Deal or No Deal.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm a model and a content creator, and I find through my profession that being my true or natural self allows me to connect with others and inspire them to do the same in their lives. It's scientifically proven that natural light wards off seasonal depression and reduces health risks of fluorescent lighting. Natural living is about enjoying what nature has to offer at all times. What if we could enjoy natural light, whether we're in our homes, with friends and family, working, and throughout our days and nights? SYLVANIA Natural Series light bulbs are the best alternative to natural light thanks to TruWave Technology. In addition to supporting an improved sleep and wake cycle, they deliver superior dimming and reduced eye strain.
Okay, so we've been having some fun with social media. It's a great platform, kind of breaks it up a little bit. I truly hope that you have found something new today and maybe can get the engines cooking about how you could apply it. We would love to work with you on that in any capacity, even if it's just to answer questions. So thank you so much for joining us today.